Good afternoon. Um, Obviously, today is signing day, National Signing Day, and we were excited about the results of a very long and clearly a successful signing day for our football program. There's so many people to thank, our entire operations that go into this. So many people when you talk about recruiting, from logistical planning, flights and rental cars, hotels. I mean, I could go on and on, to recruiting weekends, to planning. Our entire recruiting staff, led by J.R. Benton, Will Redmond in personnel. I think there's just so many people to thank that I'll miss somebody if I don't bring them up, but those two in particular and have done a great job of putting this class together. Frank Wilson, our recruiting coordinator, and then our entire coaching staff. They're so integral in this day as well. But we're excited about the 27 total signees, 26 high school players, one junior college player today. 14 of them will enroll in January, which obviously gives us a great opportunity to develop those players through the winter conditioning program, and certainly get them acclimated academically, socially, and put them in a good position from a time management standpoint, so that when we get into the summer and preseason camp, they're a lot more comfortable being in college. 20 of the signees have Louisiana roots. 16 from here, born and raised. 4 from moved out of the state. So a great connection with the state of Louisiana. And then 8 out of the 10 are the highest rated prospects by many of the publications that do in fact rate them. So, where are we after 3 recruiting cycles? We've brought in 64 freshmen into our program. I think, I've said this since I got here. We're going to build this program on freshmen. Last year, we had to bring in a number of transfers because that was necessary for where the program was. This year, we brought in 2. So you can see the shift and transition towards developing our players, giving them the opportunity to grow within our program, and then we have to put them on the field. We had some young players that had to play this year, and there's some growing pains that go along with that. But I'm committed to that growth and that kind of development, and I think in the long run, it proves to be the way to championships and continuity and consistency within your program. I think some of the, things that are also important to point out is, from a position breakdown, we've got great balance, offense, defense, special teams. Again, I think that, when we talk about recruiting, where is your focus? Our focus is on the state of Louisiana. Our focus is on freshmen, and our focus is on a well-rounded student athlete that recognizes the value of a degree from LSU and wants to play for championships. And so that will be reflected in this class. So with that, we'll open it up to questions.
Hey, Coach. You had mentioned those numbers. 23 of the 27 signees are from Louisiana and Texas, pretty much East Texas. I was just curious, obviously those are hotspots for talent, but in the portal era and retention, your view on recruiting areas like that, where do you think guys are more likely to stick it out if they're close to home, parents drive to games, that kind of thing?
Were you correcting me?
Was I correcting you?
Yeah,
No. I was
factually,
no,
was I wrong?
I was adding.
I wasn't wrong.
I was adding
It was,
Texas
it was
into
Mike
it as,
that
as
was
well.
wrong. If anybody is wrong
No, that-
factually today, just
I wasn't correct. I was adding the Texas part.
oh, you were adding
The
okay.
23 of 27 from the two
certainly
states. I'm just curious if
Yeah,
you
I
think that
understand.
may help with retention.
Yeah, I really do believe that there is a loyalty and a sense of growing up and wanting to play for LSU. I really believe that there's that passion. And I think it's not just LSU. I think, when I was in the Midwest, I was at Cincinnati. I mean, that same sense is that they wanted to be a Buckeye, right? They wanted to play for Ohio State. And I think that geographically is in, some of the passionate states about football. And I think that's clearly here in the state of Louisiana, that young boys grow up to young men that want to play for LSU. So I think that's real. And so we recognize that. And if they possess the traits from a football standpoint and from a character standpoint and an academic standpoint, darn right, we're going to recruit them. Absolutely.
Coach, you mentioned building through freshmen, but was there, as far as interior defensive tackles, was there a debate about transfer portal guys there? And the fact there are none, is that a tell that all your guys are coming back next year?
Ooh, tricky question. Threw the tricky one in there. So the junior college player, Sean Montgomery, we really kind of satisfied that piece kind of early on before the transfer portal even got busy. So we used him as kind of the model. Like if somebody is of that caliber of a player or better, maybe we'd be interested. And we feel good about retention. And so I think both of those things factored into where we're at the defensive tackle position.
Coach, you mentioned that you guys have added two guys from the transfer portal. Does that mean you're allowed to talk about Jardin and Xavion?
Yeah, we're trying to keep this as freshmen and the one junior college player shown, and then we'll get to those guys on Friday. We'd like to make this their day today.
Okay, that's good to know. And with the freshman, with a guy like Deshaun McBride,
Yeah.
what does he sort of bring to the table with the secondary, and what sort of was appealing for you guys about him?
Well, outside of length and athleticism, the safety position is one of need within our program. You just look at the numbers on the depth chart. First student athlete that plays football that has graduated from Denham Springs early. So he's a terrific student, high character, has all the traits that we're looking for. So not only he's got length, he's really brings the kind of safety presence that we're looking for in terms of being able to cover a number 2 receiver, but also a great tackler. It's a great student and a great young man.
You look at some of the areas where you guys recruited defensively, it looks like there's a lot of positional versatility. I'm just curious if that's a situation where you got guys like McBride and Tylen Singleton, Michael Turner, just guys that can come in and maybe be, start at one position and then maybe, just depending on need and where their best fit is. Is that something that you guys targeted as guys that can maybe fill multiple spots for you guys?
I think what the charge there was toughness, versatility, and the ability to develop. These are all young men that are going to get bigger, faster, and stronger. They have not tapped out in terms of that. And so as we talk about player development, we want, the ability to watch these young men grow within our program as well. So I think that has to be considered as well. So if you see somebody that's, 205 pounds, you can assume that these guys are going to get bigger, faster, and stronger, but they have, obviously some elite traits already, and we hope to build on that.
Coach, if I could ask about a couple of local guys kind of from the same area there. Trades Green, football is still relatively new to him, right?
Yeah.
And Joel Rogers.
Yeah.
He said he wouldn't mind a few offensive touches too, but on the safety side of the ball, him as well.
Yeah, another impressive young man in Rogers in a safety position, but again, a great athlete and tough. I mean, he played with, a shoulder injury that obviously got repaired after the season. Just again, high character, great student, and really liked all of the other facets about him, and he's an outstanding football player. Another neat position for us locally. Trades Green, just starting to scratch the surface in terms of what he can do as a football player. I thought his jump from last year to this year of understanding the game and it coming easy to him was probably as big as anyone that I've seen in 1 year. Generally, it takes longer for somebody that's just played the game to pick up the nuances of the game, but you could spread him out as a receiver from last year to this year, and his awareness, his body control, the things that he did from last year to this year was pretty remarkable.
Brian, over here, y'all signed 4 corners, and you get Sage Ryan to decide not to come out of the transfer portal. So, first, kind of where do you see Sage moving forward? And also, now with all of that, how do you feel about the cornerback position moving forward?
I feel good about it. I mean, certainly, Javian Toviano, Ashton Stamps, Jeremiah Hughes, Sage, you've got 4 corners there. Jair's coming back from an injury. You've got some depth there. You've got freshmen coming in. I think we're stabilizing a position that was not very stable, and we've got Zai coming back as well, who is a starter for us. There's depth there. There's athleticism. That was not the case, obviously, over the last couple of years. So what we're starting to see is a stabilization and depth within the program that really was devoid of that. And I think that's why you didn't see us jumping into the portal. We really want to be able to develop these younger players, and again, I feel confident in our ability to do that and have them ready to play championship football in the SEC.
Hey, Coach. So like you mentioned, you guys had to start a lot of true freshmen in the secondary this season. With the freshmen that you did sign today, is the expectation higher than it was, or is it about the same? Where do you stand from the experience you had this season?
So I've told them all to have a mindset of coming in and competing. I'm going to play the best 11 players, whoever they might be. So I think there's a lot of physical talent in this group. How do you handle the transition? Mentally, you have to be prepared, and sometimes that's the biggest challenge coming in as a freshman. Are you ready mentally to play? Because I think physically, most of these guys can compete right away. It's just sometimes, some of them take a little bit longer. But I've challenged them all to have a mindset to come in here and be ready to compete immediately. Look, we'll know early on. If you're standing in the back of the line in the first couple of weeks, we'll have a good idea that you're not ready to compete. If you're up front and you're pushing guys to get in and want to rep and you want to get out there, then let's see what you've got. And, we've had that every year I've been here, right? First year you had a guy like, Will Campbell, Emory Jones. I mean, those guys jumped in right away and said, look, I want to compete right away. Caleb Jackson, he said, listen, I'm ready to play right away. So we'll have that again this year. It's just, are you ready mentally?
I'll ask a quick couple too. One, Weston Davis,
Yeah.
Rory Williams, some of these linemen you sign are basketball players that are lighter guys, athletic. How good do you feel about kind of the 3 years of O-line recruiting you've had now?
Feel really good about it. I think we have guys that can bend, that have light feet, that can move their feet. There's a model that we're looking for that we're going to stick with. There's a profile, if you will, whatever word you want to use. They have to have a really good football IQ. But as you know, and you mentioned, a lot of these guys play basketball. We want them to be agile, have quickness, be able to move up and down the court is a really good trait for some of these 6'6", 6'7" offensive linemen. So you can see what we're trying to do there in terms of bringing these guys along. So I think we've stacked this offensive line to be deep and talented for years to come.
How you doing, Coach?
Good, thanks.
As far as signing day and everything goes, were there any players that just stood out to you, or were there any players that you were kind of surprised by that were, wanting to come and play football for LSU?
There's so many guys. When you look at this roster, watching Aaron Burrell, attempt 62-yard field goals. I mean, and I didn't even know the rule in high school. If you kick a field goal and it crosses the end zone, it's a touchback. I mean, things like that. Why not kick it every single time, right? I mean, things like that when you have a kicker that's that explosive. That was kind of fun to watch. I mean, I guess there's so many guys, but the guy that just keeps jumping out at me in terms of what he accomplished was, Juwan Johnson. I mean, he broke every record. I mean, and like you watch him and you go, wow, he's going to play this position. And then you watch him again, you go, well, maybe he can play this position. And then you watch him again and you go, no, he can play this position. So if any of you guys know what position he could play, just let Mike know, and we'll take it under advisement, because he can play anywhere. He's remarkable as a player, and he's been fun to watch. And, there's a lot of guys like that, but, he's done some things here that historically have never been done in the state of Louisiana. It's kind of been fun to watch.